Donald Trump is approaching the end of his first 100 days in office. How do the American people think he's doing? Reporter Brian White took to the streets to find out.
And the French elections are taking place this weekend. We'll give you an update on the latest news from overseas. District Wire News starts right now.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Camerata.
And I'm Alicia Abelson. President Donald Trump is signing an executive order today to begin his tax reform efforts. Trump says the order will reduce tax burdens and review reforms put in place after the 2008 financial crisis. Trump is also meeting with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, and he will conclude his day by meeting with Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney.
A week from Saturday marks the 100th day of Donald Trump's presidency. Republicans and Democrats are weighing in on how the president and his administration measures up. Reporter Brian White has more.
President Donald J. Trump is calling the first 100 days a ridiculous standard, a statement made on the 92nd day of his presidency. One of Trump's central arguments during the 2016 campaign was that the nation's capital was horribly run and his presidency would result in rapid improvements. But according to American University professor Margot Suska, the first 100 days is nothing more than a catchy slogan.
I don't know that administrations are judged solely on their first 100 days. And I think that what we'll see is that really how effective you think the first 100 days has been will be a very partisan idea. I think if you're a conservative Republican who voted for Trump, you're going to be very happy with the first 100 days. I think if you're a liberal Democrat, you're going to see some issues with the first 100 days as well.
The partisan approach mentioned is mirrored on American University's campus, where college Democrats and Republicans are holding the president to very different standards.
I actually did not vote for President Trump. However, looking back at his first 100 days, I do regret my decision that he would hold to a lot of conservative tendencies, including appointing a conservative judge to the Supreme Court. And he has proved me quite wrong there, which I am very happy to say that I was wrong.
However, the political left has seen his actions as detrimental to the American people.
One word to describe the Trump presidency in the first 100 days is atrocious. There's going to be a unique group of people who are definitely going to stick by him with every single thing he does, and that is the riled up Republican base. At the same time, in terms of economic policy, his only rhetoric so far has to been buy American, hire American, which closes a lot of opportunities abroad for us to grow economically and expand there.
Trump hits the 100-day mark at the end of next week, and I'll round it up by promoting his progress on immigration, regulatory reform, and job creation. This is Brian White reporting for District Wire News.
After a controversial vote, Neil Gorsuch is officially a member of the Supreme Court. Gorsuch is showing comfort on his first days on the bench. Ellie Klossmeyer has more on the judge's active first week on the job.
When the late Antonin Scalia was laid in repose in this very building, though, these megaphones were bouncing off the walls for real.
Neil Gorsuch is hearing his first cases as a Supreme Court justice after being confirmed by a nuclear vote. This nuclear option was deployed after Democrats attempted to block his confirmation. On Monday, the judge heard cases concerning landowner disputes. He asked over 20 questions during the hearing, more than any of the other justices.
It is unusual for justices to be this active in their first week on the bench.
I think it's good for a brand new Supreme Court justice to become as acclimated as possible, as quickly as possible. He's been a federal judge, and I think he's been very effective.
Though Gorsuch seemed comfortable on the bench, some are still concerned that his confirmation could affect the legitimacy of the court.
The judicial branch was established to be a check on the partisan struggle between parties in Congress. And the way that Neil Gorsuch has been nominated has transformed the Supreme Court position into one that is clearly a partisan prize.
It is still not clear how the nomination and confirmation of Gorsuch will affect the future nomination of Supreme Court justices. For District Wire News, I'm Ellie Klossmeyer.
The U.S. is taking steps to prepare for a possible nuclear test or missile launch by North Korea. This comes as North Korean media threatened a preemptive strike on the U.S. that would reduce South Korea and the U.S. to ashes. The U.S. and South Korea flew joint exercises today as a show of military strength. On Sunday, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un celebrated his grandfather's birthday with a concert that featured a video simulation of a nuclear missile attack destroying a UR city.
That it's not really that valid, they're just trying to scare us mostly, and trying to think that they can. They've had a bunch of like missile tests and stuff, but I don't think they are going to be able to actually bomb us.
Intelligence officials expect at least a missile launch in the next few days. Specially equipped sniffer planes are currently monitoring for radiation.
According to the U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, Syria is still in possession of chemical weapons. Syria's possession of chemical weapons is in violation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions. While speaking in Israel, Mattis also said that the Syrian Air Force has dispersed its combat aircraft.
French voters take the polls this weekend for the 2017 French presidential election. Voters will choose 2 candidates from a group of 11. Last weekend marked a crucial time for last-minute campaigning because candidates are not allowed to campaign on the day before the election. This election rule is put into place for undecided voters to have a day of silence to reflect on who they should vote for. Political corruption and personal integrity have become major issues in this year's election. Many French citizens are worried that after the Paris attacks last year and recent security threats to the nation, the far right will win the election in France. This election is said to be one of the most unpredictable elections in French history since the post-war era.
In regards to the French elections, I'm just kind of worried now because of everything that happened yesterday, the attacks on Champs-Élysées. I'm worried that that will lead to a rise in popularity for Le Pen, which is the extreme right candidate, but I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Booths will open from 8 a.m. and close outside big cities at about 8 p.m. for French voters.
A nonprofit based in Arlington is helping families who have lost a loved one serving our country. We'll have more on the special programs they provide for the families of the fallen.
And new barriers are coming to the south lawn of the White House that will distance tourists. We'll have more after the break. So we did B.